ES Audio.
Charlie Mullins. He's one of Britain's best known and most successful businessmen. He founded Pimlico Plumbers in 1979, turned it into a £50 million a year trade empire, then sold it last year for £140 million.
You know, it's a lot of money. I remember my lawyer ringing me up one morning and said, you know, the money's in your account kind of thing. And, I mean, it takes a lot of sort of believing, and then, you know, you start thinking, oh, you know, bloody hell, I weren't expecting this.
So what do you do after that? I mean, I'd take a really long holiday, but someone who leaves school at 15 and starts their own business in an estate agent's basement isn't really the vacationing type.
It's something that's still in me that I can do. Obviously, I don't want to be working all day and every day, and I want to enjoy what I've got. But we didn't realise how right we had it until we come away from it.
I'm David Marsland from the Evening Standard. Charlie will be appearing at our SME Expo, which is being held at the XL London on April 25th and 26th. He's doing an Ask Me Anything session. But when we meet him at the Evening Standard's offices, I want to ask him, having done all that and worked so much, isn't it time to relax?
Yeah, no, it's far from it. I mean, I actually plan at the moment to open up another London service company, a family-run one. I have a 3-year clause that we not to open up until that 3 years, 18 months into it, and we're certainly planning it. We've just taken over 10,000 square foot building in Lambeth, and, you know, going to plan it so it's going to be a really dynamic company and get back to running a big family business.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you can go into about what that company is, because obviously it's not even launched yet. But thinking about that 3-year clause where you couldn't start something, was that frustrating? I mean, when you sold the company, did you think, oh, it's going to be fine, I'm not going to do this again? How soon after you
well,
put
to be perfectly honest, at the time, when we completed the sale in October 2021, I had no intention of ever opening again. You know, I've got enough money to, you know, live a wonderful life, and so has my family. But, you know, I've noticed that the London is missing this lovely family-run business that we used to have. And, you know, it's 41 years of my life, and many members of my family was involved with it. And, you know, they've said to me that, you know, that they really fancy it because, you know, picked up a lot of knowledge in all them years of it. And I would hate it to go a waste. And, you know, I'm certainly not doing it for the money, but certainly, you know, I have, you know, quite a few grandchildren and 4 children and their families. And I feel that I've got quite a lot to offer again. You know, when you start a business from literally back of a van and then sell it for in excess of 140 mil, you know, you learn a lot. And certainly we had it right, that was for sure. And I just feel that it was very much a family business. And as much as I think it was my best decision in business, it was also my worst decision selling it. I would have loved to have handed it down and the family members still to run it. So I feel like I've let down customers, I've let down a lot of staff, and, you know, I'm getting a lot of sort of attention now from people saying, you know, we really could do with this family business kind of thing out there again.
Yeah. Did you originally plan for it to become kind of, you know, a Pimlico and Son? As you know, old traditional London businesses would have done. Yeah,
that was the original plan, that you pass it down to your children. But, you know, they've been there many years, and I felt that we maybe we needed a break and look at fresh ideas. If I'm being honest, I felt maybe I'm holding the company back and it needs fresh blood. And, you know, this American outfit that came in, Neighbourly, they seem to have all the right credentials. And, you know, I don't know exactly how well or bad they're doing, but all I do know is that they run it as Americans run their companies, you know, not like we was running the family business. And I've got so many like great ideas to go again on it. We was going to make many changes anyhow, but I feel that, you know, the time's right to start planning to come again. Yeah.
That's interesting you say that. So I guess, can companies become too big that they're kind of not connected to their customers anymore? And how big would your new company get?
How big will the new company get?
Yeah, how big would you go, right, this is big enough? Did Pimlico get too big?
I don't think we'd go as big as the old company, because I think it's going to concentrate very much on a few boroughs around, you know, Chelsea, sort of Kensington, South Kent, Fulham, Pimlico, them areas where we were spreading out more and more last time, and I feel getting from A to B is just a nightmare now. And I think keep it a lot more confined and probably even a higher quality service. There's millions of service companies out there, but there's not many companies that offer a top quality service, and I think that's the market we would go for.
Yeah, in those early days, obviously, once you're the boss of a massive multi-million company, you're probably not going to be meeting many customers. But in those early days, how important was that customer relationship when you yourself were headed out there in your secondhand van with your old tools?
Yeah, well, rightly so. When I set Pimlico up, I was doing some of the plumbing myself, and to the day I left, we still had quite a few of them customers. That I'd set up myself. Most of them are dead. But there's still a few out there.
Yeah. I thought you said you were about to tell me you were still doing a bit of plumbing every now and again. No. But you kept customers throughout their lifetime. Yeah.
And look, I'll give any advice, if anybody wants to listen to advice, what I can give. One thing with a business is to retain your customers. And if you can retain your customers, that gets you through recessions, gets you through tough times, and it keeps you busy. Yeah. So anyone starting a business or got a business, undoubtedly, one of the keys of it is retaining your customers. And in the end, we was doing 2,500 jobs a week, and 80% of them customers have used us before, and that's a remarkable amount. And that's what made us the company we were, by keeping the customer base going.
Yeah. Of those kind of original customers, I'm really interested by this. Did they get special deals? You've been with us for however long it was. Did you? We'll keep you sweet on this one.
I think they certainly got. What I would say is that if you're a regular customer, but you've got to remember 80% were anyhow. Yeah. So we'd make sure that we've done the best we could do, which we would for any customer, and that's all about turning up and getting the job done. But of course, there was a little bit of queue jumping. If there's an old customer coming on, so I've been using you for 40 years, of course we'd jump her up the front. But often it was done according to an emergency, or if they've got children, or if they're old people. Yeah, we had it off to a T. We had enough people on the road, and we could get to any job within an hour, and often within 10 minutes. So, I must be honest that I didn't realise how well we did have it fixed up kind of thing. Yeah, and we was going forward, and we was a growing company. And I just felt at the time that, do I want to spend another 5 years and start going national or maybe international, or is the time to sort of let someone else have a go? And that's the decision I made at the time. And of course, the money's handy. Yeah. that's for sure, Yeah. But, I think I let a lot of the staff down because, a lot of the staff may not be with that company now, and they've already made approaches to my family that, they would love to come back to a family business. And, not knocking how it's being run, but there's nothing like running a family business. That's it, basically.
There's a different relationship between the boss or the head of a family business and the boss or the head of a corporation, really, isn't there? And that's kind of what makes a difference. Did you realize that as you were making the sale? Did you think, I wonder how this is going to be? Or were you kind of surprised at the difference or the reaction of the staff?
I think I've been a bit surprised. They made many changes there. They bought a wonderful brand, and what I hear, they've made many changes, and allegedly not necessarily for the better. And they've just come away from this personal family business, and I just thought that would carry on. But when you sell to capital investors and that, I would say it's all about bottom line rather than anything else. And so I ain't knocking that at all. I just feel it's a wonderful brand, but I know that we could build up a wonderful brand again. It's all about quality of service. Whatever product you're doing, whether you're selling shirts or fixing boilers or dealing with the public on the phone, it's all about quality of service, and people will always pay for quality.
Yeah, it's the graft, isn't it? There's no other way to do it. You got to put the hard work in.
Of course,
is that what you would have told young Charlie? So if you had that kind of weird time warp thing where you now can go right back to the very beginning of Pimlico Plumbers, and there's young Charlie sitting there, what's the advice you give to him?
Well, undoubtedly, look, when you start a business and running it, there's plenty of sleepless nights. There's plenty of where we're going to get the money, where we're going to pay the bills from. There's many ups and downs, and I think you've got to go through them to get to success. But believe me, when you do get there, there's nothing like it. And we was turning over 50 mil, 450 people on board, 270 odd vans on the road, most recognisable plumbing company in the world, and making good profits. And we had, I think, 1,500 apprentices went through our books over the years, and that was a great sort of value to me because, that's how I started. And I want to, be able to offer apprentices that type of position again because apprentices have gone back over the years because government are not concentrating on it. And I feel it's something that's still in me that I can do. Obviously, I don't want to be working all day and every day, and I want to enjoy what I've got. But many members of the family had been there many years, and we didn't realise how right we had it until we come away from it. Yeah,
it helps to get a bit of perspective, to step back
and
then look at what you've done. I want to talk about apprentices because I'm really kind of interested in how that can work. Thinking back again to little Charlie, let's call him little Charlie. Is there one thing you would go, right, this is going to happen, don't do that? Was it like a big mistake?
What, in the business?
Yeah, right there, right at the very early on, right, Charlie, this thing's going to happen, you're going to do this, and just don't.
Oh, I mean, so many ups and downs in businesses. And I think the biggest mistake we made over the years was where we used to give many customers accounts and credit. And that was the thing that nearly sent us bust. So in the late 80s, early 90s, we had no cash flow. We had overdrafts. We had loans from the bank. And we had quite a lot of customers owed us lots of money. Then the recession came and things were very, very difficult. We went in to see two liquidators. First one said, you've got no money, wrap it up. Second one said, you're going to lose your house, you're going to lose your business, you might as well fight for it. So we decided to fight for it. But we immediately changed our policy to payment on completion. That was the point that, got us through it. And you find that many businesses that go bust, it's because somebody owes them money. It's not necessarily they're doing anything wrong, but they can't get the money in. And cash flow is the most important thing. And the other mistake I made, was quite adventurous. So I bought a building that was going to turn into our head office in Lambeth. And I bought it, I thought it was at the right time, but evidently there was a recession just around the corner. And the bank lent us loads of dosh for it, and then they weren't happy with the equity of it, and they wanted to call the loan in. So the other mistake I made was, don't trust banks, basically. I mean, they're crooks in suits. They'll lend you an umbrella as long as it's not raining.
To the ads. For more info on the SME Expo and to register for free tickets, head along to smexpo.co.uk. Other people speaking will be Harriet Hastings from Biscuiteers and Levi Roots, who's on an upcoming edition of this very show. Pop over to smexpo.co.uk. Do it while the ads are on. On apprenticeships, do you need qualifications now to start a business? Would you recommend them? Should people be going to universities, getting their MBAs?
I had no qualifications other than, plumbing qualifications.
Yeah. Which are pretty important, to be fair. I mean, I was talking about academic, but you've done the trade stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that I had the trade was what was needed. And I think that made the company, again, what it was, because when you've been hands-on and you've not just picked up a degree from university. Yeah, look, it's a difficult one to say because certain businesses, of course, you need a degree, and of course, you need to, be qualified, on finance and maybe in sort of, as a doctor and banking and accountancy kind of thing. But I think on straightforward business trade skills, you certainly don't need a degree. I mean, you need common sense and you need, driving enthusiasm. Yeah. I mean, if they'd done a degree on common sense, then that would be a magnificent thing to do. So it never certainly bothered me not trying to be that academic. Mine was all about drive and common sense and enthusiasm. And, you can't buy or pay for that. I don't think the degrees carry the weight. I mean, I would say to anybody now, university or apprenticeship all day long, earn while you learn, skills pay the bills. There's, 300 100,000 houses to be built every year now for a number of years, and people with degrees don't build houses, kind of thing. There's not a demand so much now for certainly in banking and finance and people needing degrees. I mean, I think you're going to find lots of universities are going to go out of business because it's just not. I'm not going to say it's not worth it for all and anybody, but even in media, you don't need a degree now. And I think more and more businesses are taking people on what they can bring to the table. And that's how we used to take them on. I mean, if you came to a job for Pimlico, if you had a degree, you got less chance of getting a job with us.
Really?
Yeah, really, yeah. Irrespective of what department, because they've had often no work experience, and there's no substitute for experience. And there's many companies now when students leave university and they're trying to get a filling-in job, students are not putting down they've got a degree because they won't get the job, because companies won't take you on because they know you're only going to be there 6 months, 8 months, and so people are hiding up the fact they've got a degree. If you're hiding up something, it can't be exactly what you set out to do. And I think the figures are 47%. Students that leave don't get the job that they required. It may come along later, and then I think the earning power has changed now. I mean, any tradesman will earn as much as anyone in the city.
Yeah,
for sure on that.
Has that changed in your kind of lifetime within that career? That tradesmen are earning such a large amount of money now.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly. I mean, I remember when I was an apprentice, and we used to go to the posh houses in Amsterdam and Parliament Hill and Primrose Hill.
You own them now.
Eh?
You own those posh houses now, Charlie.
and they used to have a sign up saying, tradesmen go to the back. And now it's changed. You've got people waiting, begging for you to come in their house, and they've got you a cup of tea, and they're like, as if you're a long-lost friend. So where they used to send you around the back, it's now like, wow, I'm so pleased you're here, and you'll get us out of trouble. So, trades have really come into to a value now. And I think, I've said this for a long time, from school level, they should introduce a government-funded apprenticeship scheme. And I was speaking to Cameron when he was in Number 10 and George Osborne, and I think they was going to implement this idea of when you leave a school, you either go to university, got a job, or go on a government-funded apprenticeship scheme. That would solve the skill shortage. It would solve youth unemployment, crime on the street. I mean, it's a no-brainer kind of thing, and it's just unfortunate that nobody hasn't pushed the apprenticeship scheme further.
Yeah.
And I think it's an old-fashioned idea now of going to university. I mean, Blair come up with 50% should go university. Maybe that's probably 25% now. The demand is just not there for it.
I'm interested you're bringing up some politicians there, because you've got some political ambitions yourself, haven't you, Charlie? You want to run for Mayor of London. Why? Why is the big question?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel that being I sort of come from London, I live in London, I work in London, I spend all my time in London, I spend all my money in London, I understand London, and I understand what it needs to get London moving again. I think a businessman would be good as London Mayor. And, so I'll be chucking my hat in the ring there. And, I feel quite confident of getting a lot of people behind me. The black taxi trade, they need a lot of help of being able to move around. And I'm not a lover of the bike lanes, and, they're empty 20 hours a day, and, they've turned 2 lanes into 1. It's just not right. And you need to get London moving, not just with traffic, but with businesses. And, I'd come in with an apprenticeship scheme where all apprentices have free London transport travel, because a lot of people can't take a job because the fares are too expensive. So you've got to start looking after youngsters from school level and get them in the workplace. And, I have to say, most youngsters get in trouble. They'll often say, I don't have a job, I've got nothing to do. So it's so important to get people into it. I think it's a game changer when a youngster gets a job.
Yeah.
And I feel I just feel that understanding that and coming from London, I think it needs someone with a business experience and a common sense approach.
But you were talking earlier about, the importance of experience in work and in doing a job. You don't have much experience in the political field. Could you work with the politicians inside City Hall? Do you have... because what I'm saying is you don't have much experience of that political world of negotiation.
But over the years, I've got involved in politics and, had many debates with many politicians. And the difference with many politicians, they haven't run a business. So, I'm 1-0 up on them. And, they've got all the brains in the world, but, they don't necessarily understand how a business operates, or a lot of people in the real world. And, I think I got quite involved with politics over the years. I just feel that, it needs working class people in politics. That's exactly what it needs. It needs people that understand money and understand what it's like. I'm not a great believer in all these strikes, and you need to be able to sit down and negotiate around the table. But it needs more working class people in politics. There's no two ways about that.
What did you do when you signed that bit of paper that sold the company? What was the first thing you did? Did you just sit back in a chair and go, "That's that then"? What do you do in those circumstances? I can't even imagine it.
Well, this process of selling a business takes quite a while.
Yeah.
And we attempted to sell it a few years before, and we pulled out of it because it is very, very involved. You got people come into your business telling you you're not doing this right and you ain't doing that right to get a better deal. And it's very, 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 very difficult. And, if I'm being honest, I had a great sort of brokers, Cavendish, that sold the business for us. And I had members of the family that was attending all the meetings. I think if I attended the meetings, I wouldn't have sold it because I wouldn't have put up with, some of these people, their comments and that. And, it's a lot of money. It was a lot of money that, and obviously that was a governing point to it. We weren't never going to give the business away. And I think, we got a reasonable amount, even though now I look back on it, if we'd have kept it, it would have been worth a lot more because we was going up, we was just growing and growing. But yeah, it's difficult. And then I remember my lawyer ringing me up one morning and said, the money's in your account kind of thing. And it takes a lot of sort of believing. And then, you start thinking, bloody hell, I wasn't expecting this. I don't think it's changed my life much. I was driving lovely cars then, Bentleys, Rollers.
Couple of Bentleys, yeah.
I had the same villas then. I'm going to the same holidays. I have to say it. It's been useful to help your family out. It's been useful on charities. I'm quite involved with a few charities, and it's lovely to be able to actually give some money away, kind of thing. And so it's not all about me for the money. I think it's from a successful business. So many people benefit. I'll never be a person. I've never been a saver anyhow. And, I don't say I waste money, but, I certainly spend money and enjoy my life. And I say many other people have also benefited from the sale of it.
Yeah. You're going to be appearing at the Evening Standard's SME Expo on an Ask Me Anything. Do you really want them to ask you anything, Charlie?
Look, I've always been very black and white, straightforward, direct. And, people can ask me anything they want and they'll either get the answer that I say or I just ignore them kind of thing, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I've always been pretty direct, blunt, rude, whatever they want to put it. But, there's winners and losers out there and, I'm in the winning side.
Well, maybe we can save people a bit of time. Is there one question that you're probably most asked more often than anything else? And what would be the answer to that?
Yeah. The question you always asked is, how did you make Pimlico Plumbers that big? How did you go from scaling it up? That's asked continuously, and there's no magic formula. There's no magic in business at all. It's all about hard work, enthusiasm, drive, being brave, sleepless nights. But I'm asked that a lot. How can you go from 10 people to 200 or 200 to 400? And my answer to people in business is you need to employ people. And that's the way you grow in a business. It's a double-sided sort of question in a way because the worst thing in business is employing people, but it's also the best thing. And, when you get your head around that, some staff can be difficult to get the right staff. But in the same token, it's the best way to grow a business, And I say that to, when people ask me all the time, I'm got 10 people on board, I'm running around, I'm doing this, doing that. And they say, how do you manage to do it? And it's simple. You learn to delegate. You need to employ people. And, you just make yourself a bigger team and the figures will grow with that if you've got it right kind of thing. But as I say, it's the worst thing in business also because it gets very personal. But on saying that, I've learned now there's some great people out there and not everybody wants to be a leader. A lot of people are happy to work with you, and especially if you give them incentives. I mean, another great thing I learned in business is incentivise all your workers and you'll all be drinking from the same teapot.
That was Charlie Mullins. How to Be a CEO is back on Monday morning. Hit your follow button so you never miss any of our shows. And we have some great ones coming up. And go to standard.co.uk/business every day for the latest news, interviews and analysis.